Hi, I'm Amelia from TRG Arts, the data-driven consulting firm for arts and cultural organizations. This is the last of 3 videos we're bringing you on clean data and segmentation. Is your data ugly? Your arts organization may have slick branding, a whiz-bang website, a top-of-the-line CRM system, and beautiful photos of your productions or exhibitions. But if the data you have on your patrons is dirty, incomplete, or poorly segmented, building patron relationships and loyalty is much harder. That's why data stewardship, the ongoing process of maintaining data for action, is so important. In this series, we've talked about capturing good, clean data, and we've talked about building a segmentation scheme and what should factor into that. Once you know what your needs are, you'll want to be able to calibrate the size of your segments for any given campaign. In this case, size does matter. Remember the story of Goldilocks and the 3 bears? Put aside for a moment the fact that the hero broke into a house and slept in the beds of complete strangers. The point of the story was that just right is a moving target. So let's return for a moment to the beds in the story. The beds were too big, too small, and just right for Goldilocks. Similarly, your segments can be too big, too small, or just right. Your campaign could have a few segments that are very big and broad, but you don't want to have segments that are too big, where you can't get specific enough for the message to carry contextual weight. Your campaign could have a lot of really small segments, but you don't want to have segments that are too small. So many segments that it's difficult for you to manage, or that the granularity of the segmentation actually doesn't matter to your patrons. Then there's this just right category. So what does that look like for you? Just right changes from campaign to campaign and from organization to organization. It's flexible and it's constantly shifting. In the last video, we talked about purchase behavior drivers that can be used to determine your segmentation scheme on a larger scale. Once you've determined a segmentation scheme for your database, you'll then apply it to individual campaigns. So let's look at how a larger segmentation scheme applies to a specific campaign. Let's look at an example of a subscription renewal campaign that incorporates a donation ask. The renewal invoices will be customized, but we may have to make several different templates that are customized to our patrons' prior experience with the organization. What matters from a messaging standpoint here? Probably how long they've been a subscriber and if they've given before. If we've set up our larger segmentation scheme right, we can segment into these categories of patrons for this campaign. So what else might matter? We could segment further by the length of time that they've subscribed. Now we have first-time subscribers, 2 to 3 year subscribers, and people who have subscribed for 4 or more years. What else might matter? Well, if I have detailed donation information in this segmentation scheme, like how much they've donated, I might know which of them haven't donated, have given under $100, have given $100 to $1,000, and have given over $1,000, which is major donor status at this organization. What if my organization sells 2 different types of subscriptions, full series subscriptions and choose your own subscriptions? If I've collected and tracked the type of subscription within each subscriber type, I can add this level of detail to my segments. But wait a second, this is a lot of segments. These segments are very granular and detailed. You might have the ability to segment to this level or not. That depends on a number of different factors, including your segmentation scheme. Even if you can segment at a very granular level, will having that many segments help you deliver relevant messages? And will you have the time and staff resources to create those different messages? Remember, you don't want to have so many segments that it's difficult for you to manage, but you also want to talk to people like you know their history. You want to be specific enough to be relevant and impact response rates to your campaign. There's not one right way to do it, but you will need to find balance between segments that are too big or too small. So what's going to matter and not kill your staff? Let's have a look at what we have and figure out what's reasonable. In this case, let's return to the goal of the campaign. In other words, what do we want them to do? Remember that this is a renewal campaign with a donation ask, so you want them to renew their subscription and possibly add on a gift. So which of these categories get different communication and a different invoice template? In this case, marketing and development talked and determined that major donors will need to have specialized messaging. Then marketing decided that first-time subscribers need a special invoice that walks them through the renewal process. They also decided that no further segmentation is really necessary. In this particular organization, the invoice already takes into account differences between choose your own and full subscriptions, and an algorithm created last year determines how much the subscriber will be asked for. In the end, the organization decided to create one invoice template for first-time subscribers, another template for the major donors, and send all the other subscribers the standard invoice that they're able to personalize depending on the individual. CRM systems enable your segmentation scheme, but even the most sophisticated systems don't do all the work for you. Now you may be thinking, I got a data person, I have this covered. You may be thinking that it's all a function of that data person, the administrator or the assistant that pulls lists for your marketing and development communications. But the decision on who gets which message should be made before that list pull in collaboration with other departments in the organization. Every level of your organization needs to start thinking in terms of delivering personalized, targeted messages. You are the one that makes data a priority. Data doesn't do it. People do. So what are you going to do? How are you going to take this home at your own organization? Start with sharing these ideas with your colleagues. Bring it up at your next staff meeting or cross-departmental check-in. And if you're not doing cross-departmental check-ins, think about getting those on the calendar. Next, discuss what this would look like at your organization. How would staff have to communicate internally and work together in order to talk to patrons like you know them? Last, use your next campaign as a pilot project. Plan to ask questions about what your different segments could be and which differences in messaging will truly matter to patrons. Remember, only you can prevent ugly data. That concludes our series. If you enjoyed these videos, you might also enjoy the 6 Metrics That Matter series. Thank you for watching.